Welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, episode number 186. My name is Jimmy Lewis.
I'm Trevor Hunter.
We're with Dirt Bike Test, and today we're doing a semi-pre-recorded, almost live, because you're not watching it live right now, but if you follow our socials, you could be involved in the chat. But what we're going to talk about today, 450 off-road race bikes and a little racing.
Love it.
We're not going to talk about it because we don't talk about racing on this show unless we're talking about me and I raced.
And you did both.
Which is really strange. Actually, it wasn't really racing because I was like riding a few laps, stopping. But anyways, we had a Honda Sierra 450 RX, a Kawasaki KX450X, a Yamaha YZ 450 FX, and of course a gas 450 EX. Lots of X's in there. Yes. So we call them FX bikes. We should call them just X bikes. No, but then I get confused because there's Honda 450X, and then there's two strokes. Yamaha puts an X on them, so we'll just call them FX bikes, and that's what you've been calling them, and I've kind of learned to do the same thing. So today we're going to kind of go over it. If you do, we're going to just start chatting because we have plenty to talk about. But if you have questions about these bikes, if you're watching this on our Zoom, our live thing right now, and you're in the Zoom meeting, you can ask questions. If you are watching this on its Tuesday night on a regular scheduled show and you want to chime in, this is only going to go for about an hour, and then we're actually going to go live. I'll go live in our studio, and then I'll field the questions there, and maybe we'll have a Roosterendo segment and the usual things we do on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. But it's very important to mention that this show is not possible without all of our sponsors. You want to read our sponsors, Trevor?
Start from the top. We'll go with Yamaha.
Yamaha, Blue Crew.
Blue Crew. Next up is Taco Moto. Got Scott Sports, Climb, DDC Sprockets, Trail Tech, Fasst Company, Seat Concepts, Bulletproof Designs, and Double Take Mirrors.
And of course, you can always support us by clicking through on our Amazon and Rocky Mountain ATV MC links on Dirt Bike Test. There's a little thing up there. It says support Dirt Bike Test. You click on that, drop down, and that does really help us out. It puts nickels in Trevor's pocket while I skim off the extra 95 cents and put it in mine, because that's the way that this business works. There's always somebody on top trying to take advantage of you. There. How many of our sponsors do you use, Trevor?
Let's see, I ride Yamahas fairly frequently. I've used Climb gear in the past. I've used some Scott goggles before. I run DDC Sprockets on some of my bikes.
So ddcracing.net. And I'll tell you one good thing about Nate over at DDC is he's always been behind the off-road community, supports land use efforts. He supports a lot of racers. And on top of that, super good chain wheels. Just, have you ever worn one out?
That's kind of the problem is you go on their website once and then you don't really have to go back again.
I have ones. The very first one he sent me is still on my bike and on one of my KTM 500s, and good sprockets. So Fasst Company.
Yep, I use them quite a bit.
Flex handlebars.
Yep.
Do you have one on your mountain bike yet?
No, it's too much weight.
Too much. Oh, you wait till you have these. Just wrists that are reeling in pain from this weekend.
If I could lose some body weight, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but it's easier to pay money and lose weight on the bicycle.
I'm not concerned about the weight. I'm just going to enjoy my time on the planet. Spin around and have good handlebars on my mountain bikes and my motorcycles. Of course, do some seat concept stuff.
Yep.
Lots of bulletproof designs.
Yep. No double take mirrors yet. Maybe one day I'll get to that dual sport segment. But
dude, your XT225 project is in dire need of double take mirrors. So super Sano. You know what I use my double take mirror for? Shaving the back of my head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I take it. It's like the beauty mirror, but I use a double take. So
multi-purpose.
Anyways, we're gonna get right on with the show here. Our biggest thing is, man, I'll tell you what. So after riding those bikes, we went and did a quick little photo shoot up in the hills. It would resemble kind of horrible trail riding because
Yes.
the rain ruts and all that stuff like that. It was kind of a task to find places to, shoot photos, but I rode all the bikes, and usually right away I get pretty opinionated and I can pick and choose, and we swap bikes just to do photos. I was kind of blown away that there wasn't anything that stood out as being really good, and there wasn't anything that was nearly as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And for sure, I went in with certain biases. I thought, this bike's probably going to be good at this and that. And it all kind of was just sort of wiped away because it seems like in the last few years, the manufacturers making these type of bikes, these kind of 450 off-road race bikes, have figured out how to get rid of their weak spots, their weaknesses. They've patched them up. And just whether it's the bikes and the chassis getting a little bit better, just the engine tuning, different things. But I was pretty blown away that I didn't have, they didn't seem like what I thought they were going to be. And, you put them all back to stock. They were all basically box stock. We had brand new Dunlop tires on them.
Yeah.
We had what was the front and rear combo?
MX-33 front and AT-81 rear.
Right. So they're all on the same tire setups. And that's stock on all the bikes. Except for the Honda.
Honda and Kawasaki come with 81 fronts.
Okay.
And then Yamaha and Gas come with 33 fronts.
Okay. And that does make a little bit of a difference, but kind of in shootout fashion, we didn't want to run worn out tires. So we went all with the same. It's just kind of easier. And that way you can sort of take some of the traction stuff out. And personally, I think that's an improvement. And personally, I would have kind of wanted to go away from the 81 rear and go to maybe a different rear. Yeah. But if you're talking about durability, you're not going to beat the AT81.
Yeah.
So
and it's consistent. So
correct.
Across the board. So.
Yeah. It doesn't get picky about certain things. So right away, stock bikes, stock clicker settings.
Yep.
And then we just set the ride height because on the day that we rode it, we were riding around Saturday. We had 4 fat guys.
Yep.
Sorry, all you other guys. I think I was the light guy, actually.
And you were Jeff. Probably you were probably the lightest guy.
Yeah. And, cranking in at like 193, 194. Although I have to tell you, our scale said I was 197, which is not bad for me. It's really bad for all the bikes because we weighed them, filled all the tanks up.
Yeah.
And we weighed them. You got those numbers?
I do.
So, and the scale doesn't lie, but the brochures do because they don't often weigh them with gas in there. And so you can go ahead and rip those off. I don't even know. I yelled off the numbers, but we were doing front and rear. And so I don't really even know, but I'm just going to kind of guess off the top of my head based on what I felt. And I'm going to say that the Hondas used to be really light, but I know they've gained weight in the past. And I'm going to say the lightest bike was the gas.
Yep.
Yeah. And it definitely feels like it when you're riding it. Second, I'm going to go with, it's not going to be the Kawasaki. I want to say is the Kawasaki the heaviest?
Nope.
It isn't.
Nope.
That's Yamaha's the heaviest.
Yep. Yamaha's the heaviest.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest.
Doesn't feel the heaviest.
Yeah, it doesn't. It almost feels the lightest in reality, but I knew it was heavy. And then so the Honda's second lightest.
Nope.
No, it's
Kawasaki's.
Kawasaki. Wow.
It does have a small tank on there though, so that kind of
right. And the Honda has a big tank.
Yeah,
and that does affect it. That extra gas. Yeah. What's the Honda? The tank is.
I think it's 2.2. Then the Kawasaki's like 1.6. I want to say.
Right.
So that's a few pounds. That kind of bridges that gap a little bit.
Yeah, that would kind of make them a little bit more similar.
Yeah.
But you when you're riding them, it's like the gas definitely, like I said, feels. I would say riding the bikes, Yamaha feels lightest, gas second lightest, then the Honda, then the Kawasaki.
Yeah, for sure.
And just kind of weight feel. And people say, "Oh, that's horrible." The weight of the bike, and it's like,
weight can be your friend.
Right.
Weight can be your friend.
Yeah, it adds stability and a certain amount of planted, and so I think we're at the point. They were really, Honda added weight to their bike on the motocross bikes. They had super light bikes and actually started letting the weight come up, and whether, people will say, oh, it's just cost, light costs a lot of money, and they could make it a little heavier. But at the same time, I don't think it has that much of an adverse effect. We're kind of at this happy place. I mean, if they had a lot of money, they'd get rid of some unsprung weight and lighten up some spinning parts, but that's expensive. And so I don't think for most guys that the weight, the actual scale weight is that big of a deal. And just going that the Yamaha's, so heavy on the scale, but so light feeling when you're riding it. And we're not just saying that because we're sponsored by Yamaha.
No.
It was here's the other interesting breaking news. On the first day of riding, so we went out trail riding, and then we came back, and Glen Helen had its motocross track open for practice. And so we started riding the bikes around, switching the bikes around there, just to mostly get a feel for how we wanted to do setups in the thing. Is anybody trying to join the
Jeff is trying to
join in? Well, tell him I haven't seen him pop up here, and we'll see how it goes. But when you I wanted to ride the bikes kind of all around. And do you pop up? Oh yeah, let's let him join. He's in the waiting room. We got to fix this. When you're riding around the track, I was just kind of thinking, hey, what's the best way to, the directions of change you want it, or do I like it? I don't want to change it. And it was interesting with our guys. Everybody else comes from competition bike background.
Yeah.
They're riding race bikes, motocross bikes that are set up for off-road. They're riding these type of FX bikes, and they all felt the forks were soft.
Yep.
And I'm the only guy sitting here complaining, oh, these forks are kind of stiff, and it was just sort of what I was used to. But I got comfortable with it really quick. And then, hey, Jeff, we're gonna have you in here, and feel free to chime in. I think the audio will be up loud enough. You can hear us okay, right? Oh, we don't want the echo. Which phone? Where's he going to come out of?
Should come out of yours.
Yeah.
Mine's muted.
So, Jeff, say hi to everybody. I'm not muted. He's not. I can't hear him. Is he talking? Let me set my volume up. This is how we do things. We try to do things. We try to innovate on this show. Let's see. Mic's all the way up. There we go. Oh, he's not muted. He's unmuted from what I can tell. Yeah. His video keeps turning on and off.
Yeah.
Jeff, say hi. Plug in. Oh, well, we'll let him figure it out. When you get a really loud screech.
He can't hear us.
On the feed. Oh, you can't hear us? I wonder why. Maybe because
you can hear him.
Listen to this awesome sound quality on tonight's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, brought to you by Yamaha.
You can hear me? I can't hear you guys.
Okay, we can hear you now. So Trevor's going to fix our problem.
Can't hear you. Do you guys hear me at all?
We can hear you just perfect. And so now I'm going to adjust this microphone over. Oh, you can't hear us. That's on your end. I'm 99% sure that's on your end. Does that work there? We can actually edit this out, but there's no way we're going to take the time to do that.
Too much. We're not that professional. We don't get paid enough.
We have professionals for that. So when he figures out how he can hear us, then we'll be in better shape. But this is like me. It's like he's just like me on the other side of the
Todd
computer.
As well.
Okay, I'm going to let Todd in really quick. And
there we go.
Admit Todd.
So if I unmute my phone, he can hear us.
Okay.
But then
we get echo. So I can mute mine.
Okay.
Hey, this is what COVID was like for everybody.
Can you hear us now?
There we
go. Okay.
And we can hear you, but we need to make him loud enough so that he gets on the show.
Can you hear us, Todd, Jeff?
I can hear you guys.
That sounds good. So we're going to make sure that the show can hear you, because we're checking audio levels right now. We're like sound engineers that talk about dirt bikes.
Doing great. You guys are doing real good.
Good. Look, it works.
It does.
Yeah, we're in business. Tech Talk Taco Tuesday back in business tonight on Monday. So, hey, guys, thanks for joining in. And like I said, feel free to chime in. We've already, given everybody everything they need to know, so you're late. The Yamaha is the best.
Obviously.
Yeah, this show is sponsored and brought to you by Yamaha. Yes. So just, you know how I am. Hold your negative comments or I'm coming over to your house. No, we talked about the weight. So which Jeff, did you hear us? Do you know which one the heaviest was?
I thought, let me think about it for a second. I thought it was the Yamaha was the heaviest.
So you saw did you see the numbers?
Trevor showed them briefly to me in the beginning, and to be honest, that was days ago, so it went right out the brain, you know what I mean? But I kind of thought the Yamaha was, and then I thought the gas was towards maybe second to last.
It was the lightest, but when you're riding around the track, which is the lightest bike?
I feel like the Cowie had one of the lightest feelings.
Let's see. And this is the interesting thing about shootouts, comparisons and stuff like that. Everybody gets an opinion and everybody has a different idea of what they feel. Mm-hmm. And like both Trevor and I kind of were of the thing that the Kawasaki kind of feels the heaviest on the track. And then I'm kind of the Yamaha and the gas tie for the lightest feeling on the track. And I think a lot of it depends on how you ride. Yeah. Like if you're kind of rough on the throttle, like herky jerky on the throttle, especially with the Yamaha on the stock map, that bike can get heavy. Yeah. It kind of shows you that it's a little bit heavier. But does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Todd, he's in here. Right. If you, like I said, I think what we're going to do is if you have questions, go ahead and use the chat. If you want to type in a question, and then we can monitor on your thing. Upside down though. Upside down. We have to read it upside down. Yeah. Because we don't need to see our things here. We've just got to. What do we have to do? We have to. I don't know. My thing wants to do airplane mode. Brent joined in? Yep. Okay, well, I'll let Brent in too.
This is my first Zoom call ever, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
It's motorcycle view. Brent's got to be a professional at this.
Oh, I think he's on Zoom call number 5 or 10 today?
Yeah.
Look at his background's all nice.
Oh, he knows how to do like Ricky Brabeck taught me how to blur out the background. Yeah, we started trying to make better and better backgrounds for the show. But so those of you that are. Those of you that are new to this is the show where we talk about motorcycle related products. Tonight we were talking about the 450 FX bikes. Brett, did you see the scale weights of the bikes?
I do not.
Good. This is a perfect. Which was on the scale? Which was the heaviest bike? Based on
probably Kawasaki.
See? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Guess what, Jeff? You're out. You're
fired.
You're gonna get canceled now. And okay, based on what you felt on the track, which was the lightest bike?
Gas for sure.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So that is so the heaviest is actually the Yamaha, and then the lightest is the gas by what? Probably 4 pounds, 5 pounds.
The gas was like 5 or 6 pounds.
Yeah. So. Anyways, do you want to read off those weights?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, now that we've kind of given up the ghost.
So gas that comes in the lightest at 242 pounds. The Kawasaki is second at 247. The Honda is third at 250.5, and the Yamaha is in fourth at 254.5.
Wow. And then just for comparison, we also weighed a Yamaha WR 450, which was 262 pounds.
Yep.
Which kind of shows you, the difference between adding those lights and all that stuff like that. And then most of the motocross bikes are in the 230 somethings. Yeah. They're just a little bit lighter. So, I mean, the FX bikes don't have a whole lot of extra stuff on them. But anyways, okay. Where should we go to? Everybody wants to know which is the fastest. Okay, starting with Jeff.
I mean, the Yamaha to me had the biggest motor of a pull to get you around by all means. I don't know. I mean, obviously we didn't get to ride it very top endish, but it did seem to flatten out a little bit towards the top.
Yep.
Where I think that was one thing with the Honda and even the gas. I felt the gas was smooth and just kind of pulled that same thing all the way up into the high revs. Where I feel like the Yamaha flattened out. Yeah,
I can see. I don't think it flattens out. I just think it revs through the top power a little quick. Yeah. And Brett, most powerful.
I would definitely say the Yamaha. I mean, it may blow through the top a little bit, but it gets there so hard and so fast. If you're drag racing, I gotta believe that thing's gonna win most of the time.
Yeah, it's the most lively. It's the most like 250F-esque in the throttle response and how quick it is. Now, like kind of saying like which is the most powerful and stuff. I kind of think, and it was sort of confirmed just by where I had to get on my brakes. I felt like the Honda was the most powerful. Like it seems like it was really, it was kind of like mediocre, but it pulled so good up hard. And I'm really careful about when I start talking about top power, I make sure that I'm, throttle's wide open and it's pretty near peak RPM. Yeah. When I start talking about top, where a lot of times, and this is where the Yamaha really shines, if you're doing more opening the throttle up and pulling, it's so responsive that makes it feel like it's, top there. Yeah. Gas for me was just super, I call it traditional 4-stroke, almost like low power in the beginning, but really smooth, never really revs all that fast, but it wasn't slow.
No,
I don't think any of these bikes are slow. And then the Kawasaki is almost exactly the same with maybe, for me, too much. Like when it goes from transitions from mid to top, I had the wheel light up a couple times that I just didn't expect it to light up. And I'll talk about some of the changes I made and why I made them in a little bit, but were you kind of in line with that?
Yeah, I think so too. The one thing, like the Honda, I felt like it revved out pretty quick and you kind of ran through the gears really quick as well. Like the Kawasaki and the gas more like a second, and the Yamaha as well, like a second, third gear, fourth gear kind of bike. Whereas like the Honda, you're just like, it's always in third, fourth, and fifth. And like that back straightaway on the SRA GP, I was in fifth and like kind of revved out before you even leave the REM track almost. It's like the Yamaha and the gas a little bit, you like barely hit the rev limiter.
And that was on Sunday.
On Sunday.
So the interesting thing is most of the day I think the Honda was in map 3 in the on Saturday.
Okay.
And the aggressive day, and so that's the aggressive map. And I ended up racing it in the stock map. That was one of the changes I made to the Honda. And it felt like, for me, it was too much in that aggressive map. Yeah. So maybe, and I think you're riding it the same way I did.
Yeah.
Where, but I felt like, and maybe it's just that I'm heavier and, I got it to hook up better and stuff. I can see where if any of these bikes, if they get light and unweight them, they'll spin up. And I mean, just nature of the beast. So
I think that's where the Kawasaki and the gas are a little more, I don't know, maybe forgiving might be a way of saying. I mean, they're still fast as hell, but they don't punish you quite as much if you just get a little bit, lose a little of your finesse and your throttle hand. Mm-hmm. I think you can get away with a little bit more on those bikes.
I
maybe
totally
easier on you. Yeah,
I totally agree. And it's funny because some people say that's like a it's better for the novice or something. Like, none of these bikes are great for a real novice because all you want to do is just twist these things. That's why I get a 450, yeah. And they're all they've got some boost and everyone even but I think as far as throttle responsiveness, I would say Yamaha, Honda, yeah. Kawasaki gas. Yeah. When I switched between, I went from, I think it was the Yamaha to the gas. I like literally, I thought it was like, well, go, it was like, yeah. it was like, get up and go. And then you just realize, oh, this thing just doesn't have that kind of throttle response. And then, but vice versa, one of the things I switched on the Yamaha for Sunday was we put my map, the smooth map, in the number 1 map, which is really important because I guess you switched it on Saturday and you put it in the number 2. And for me, it kind of counteracts it. It kind of puts it back more to stock. So anyways, we have a really good, call it a smooth map, but in reality, if you look at the numbers, it's actually quite a bit more aggressive. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of fills in that little gap at the bottom. So on the bottom, it's actually more choppy, but I find myself riding a gear high, which is kind of hard to do on that bike because it is a wider ratio gearbox. Yeah. And then it mellows the revs at the top. So it makes the top, for me, more like what the gas is doing in essence. It's kind of being smooth. That is, again, Yamaha sponsored the show. But that Power Tuner app is like getting, 5, 6, 7 cams. Yeah. 22 different pipes with different inserts, 5 different throttle bodies. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all in one of these phones. Actually, both of our phones have it.
Yeah. I think we changed it because I changed it for, I think Todd was on the bike. Maybe he can elaborate a little bit, but just we put the magic map in on map 1. And that kind of transformed the bike for him.
Yeah. That map was excellent for me.
And I hate that map. And like I said, right? Nothing to get. It's just it's just like where you like to where you think the power should come on, how far you turn it when you twist the throttle. A lot of people talk about putting different throttle cams in and different things like that, and that's the mapping does a lot of that stuff, and that's what's so cool. Kawasaki has couplers you can switch. The Kawasaki, I switched to the aggressive coupler because I like smooth power. So what do? I go to aggressive. I go to the most aggressive maps usually I can get. The Honda's the only exception. I go to the most aggressive map I can get, and I just start riding at a gear high, and so it ends up working.
If I could add something, yep. I think for anybody out there that hasn't played with maps on their bike, do yourself a favor and play with the maps. Yeah. It's dramatic, and you're missing out on what your bike is capable of. Yeah. By playing with this stuff. It's amazing, really. Yeah. What you can do with a modern 450. Yeah. Just with map.
Any bike that allows you to, do it however you're able to do it.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you just from my experience is the manufacturers, especially for drivability and rideability, do a much better job, maybe too good of a job sometimes. And that's why people are always jumping into these aftermarket ECUs that a lot of times tend to be tuned on the dyno, and they make really good power on the dyno. But sometimes they kind of forget about the, trailing throttle or smooth. And that's where, like I said, the Yamaha Power Tuner app is so nice to be able to change, but all of, like I said, the gas was the only one that suffered from this. I really wanted to have an aggressive map to kind of see.
I think you can unplug a plug in the gas. There's a plug under the tank that you can unplug to change it.
Yeah, you can. You can switch, and you can buy the switch. There's a switch you can just buy and plug in.
You can add, which is on the KTM and the Husky already.
Correct.
But underneath the tank, I think that you can plug or unplug something to change the map.
Yeah, there's a way you can, like I said, there's a way you can do it without a switch. But literally, sometimes I just want to have a switch so I can try it.
If you're testing it, the handlebar switch is nice. It's just a cost thing for the gas, obviously.
Yeah, because once you kind of settle on it, then you don't need the switch anymore, unless there's times I don't know. Sometimes I want my bike to haul ass. Yeah, and I've worked with manufacturers before when they're developing these maps, and I'm like, this is America. We want one that's not very practical, but we want it to rip our arms out of our sockets, please. Yeah.
Well, it's they should call it a sand track map. Yeah. Really. Well, Yamaha has one I think they have that's the nice thing about the Yamaha too. If you don't know what you're doing, and you just bought it, they have you preload 3 maps. And I think one wasn't one called sand, or it was back in the day. I don't know if it still is now.
Yeah, they always have a smooth, a hard track, smooth, slick, and then they have an aggressive. Yeah. And it's, you can see what they are and you can see what they do to get these maps, and then you can kind of fine tune it. It's like, hey, this one hits a little bit hard. You can take, 1 or 2 off of some numbers and all these things. But it's kind of a cool thing. And then I want to get into suspension now, but all of my suspension complaints, remember, like all you guys are all the same and I'm the weird guy out in suspension, so don't feel bad when I tell you that.
You ride Husabergs.
Yeah. I did ride a Husaberg, 650, by the way. Trevor rode it.
I did.
Trevor has some experience. Actually, I got to ring the bell. Okay. But so we were talking earlier about the suspension. I was the only one that kind of felt like they were a little stiff in the beginning. And everybody else said, well, they're too soft. And it kind of comes, there's our background. You know, I'm not racing a whole lot, not riding motocross bikes a whole lot lately, especially. And so I'm coming off of EXCs and mushy, we'll call them mushy bikes. And I learned really quick what I was doing was I was sitting in the middle of the seat going into the turns, and I couldn't get any of these bikes to turn. And then just because I do this a lot, switch a lot of bikes, the next day I rode, I scooted forward, and all of a sudden now they work magically. And we actually stiffened up the gas with some air pressure. Yep. And that was really the only suspension change we made between the 2 days. But from being too stiff to perfect based on just me modulating my body, and this is the bikes across the board, frankly, I'm blown away by all the suspension. It's, I think, really, really good, especially because I don't think some of these bikes are really designed for, we'll call it Glen Helen West Coast conditions.
No, even
no, definitely not. I think the majority of them aren't.
Yeah, because I rode the Yamaha. Me and Jeff, we rode it at Kauai the weekend before, kind of like our first impression. And there's a lot more tighter trails, nothing high speed or big. And I thought the Yamaha suspension was really, really good there. And then fast forward 1 week, it's same bike, same clickers, everything, and wasn't as good for me.
Right. And I think I have it figured out. But Brent, what did you feel about suspension?
Well, I felt they were all too soft for me. Being the biggest guy out there, I felt like I was just riding deep into the stroke, and so I was actually getting that harsh feeling you get when a bike's actually soft. You know, kind of the opposite of what you might initially think. And I was feeling it. Interestingly enough, I felt it probably the most in the Yamaha, especially in the morning when things weren't too rough. That I was just getting a lot of feedback in through the bike, and I just felt like I was riding too deep into the stroke, especially coming into some of the braking bumps. I mean, I was really aware of how much I was getting into my hands. Then, interestingly enough, as the track got rougher, speeds came down maybe a little bit, and maybe then I was just pushing harder through the suspension. Then I stopped feeling that as much, but everything was rougher at that point. But I think, we didn't even touch a clicker, didn't adjust, sag, nothing. So I'm riding the bike at, our weight 225 on my best day, probably 230 something on just last weekend.
But you're also 6 foot, what, 9, 7?
Yeah, depends on which day.
Yeah, it's also a variable.
Yes, but I'm kind of like an upside down grandfather clock, all that weight swinging back and forth. So which always means that I'm usually running pretty stiff forks, just because when I transfer weight, especially standing in a standing position, I transfer weight, get on the brakes. I'll transfer a lot of weight onto the forks. And so one of the things I'll notice on a lot of bikes is you get that squirminess. Interestingly enough, I didn't get a ton of that out of any of these bikes. Most of those when I struggled at all, was just as I settle into the turn and then keeping it tracking smoothly without kind of popping me up or standing me up a little bit. I felt a little bit of that. And I think some of that was just needing a little bit more hold up. I mean, I really wanted to go just put 10 more pounds in the gas forks just to kind of go out and see how that would change it. But it wasn't really the purpose of the day. Yeah.
And the other problem with that, I mean, it's like you start bringing up the front end, then, especially being a pendulum like you are, if you get the front end up, then you lean back and then the back's overly soft, and then you're kind of fighting a battle. But yeah, and that being said, that we set the kind of the standard sag for, all of us 200 pound guys. We kind of got it to where it was doing ride height, and we're, and Todd could clarify this, we're probably at the limit on those springs. I mean, as far as
dependent on the bike,
yeah,
each one of them is a little bit different. the Yamaha rear spring is closer, but what their recommended sag is different actually than what you were setting it at.
Right. Because they want it.
They actually want it really tall in the back.
Right. They want it high.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which would accentuate the problems actually.
Yeah.
With that bike, it would kind of make it worse in the front, which is what we all kind of thought was the hold up on that bike.
Yep.
So certain things there. The Kawasaki actually has fairly stiff fork springs as well as the Honda. Just the damping is less than. So the Yamaha has a lot of damping and light fork springs, and there's a lot of trade off there. You can get away with a lot on the Yamaha just because of the amount of damping that it has, even with the light springs. Yeah. Or you're not going to get a lot of bottoming; it's not going to blow through. Yeah, and it just feels low. And
the Yamaha just has a suppleness, that allows it. Like I said, so when you're in those kind of UTV bumps or that kind of chop stuff, it for the most part for me, and I think Brett felt differently. Also, is I felt it like doing really good there, but when you start getting these bumps that cause the bike to pitch. And then you go past that supple part into the harsh part of the stroke, whether it was front or rear, and the bike started, yawing back and forth. That's where it wasn't really that happy. Where some of the other bikes, they didn't care nearly as much.
Exactly. We kind of cheated on this just because the Yamaha's been the same for a few years, and as far as myself and Trevor. We know that a set of fork springs does wonders for the Yamaha. Like it changes it pretty dramatically. Yeah. And there's certain things that you can do, very small things that you can do for each one of the bikes that'll change it pretty dramatically. And the Yamaha in particular, a set of fork springs is a really easy way to make that better, especially for West Coast conditions. Yeah. Just to keep the front up a bit.
Yeah, and that's why I'm
down St. Helens.
Coming down there,
braking bumps.
And when you go into those braking bumps and stuff like that, that bike was a lot more prone to kind of get in and then cause the back end to buck a little bit. Where the Kawasaki kind of didn't care. So again, light feeling bike that kind of has this twitch, heavier acting bike that just kind of plows through a little bit of stuff. So. Jeff, any thoughts on the suspension?
It was kind of neat to see it all. Like I said, we were all doing it at a stock level. So for me, that was really cool because talking about at the bottom of the hill, as the day went on and how rough that got and those braking bumps got, I purposely tried to keep that same speed on each bike in the same line to see, how it would react and what it did. And I was quite surprised on how the front forks felt on the Cowie. To me, it felt like that thing just did not absorb it as well as I think like any other bikes. For me, the Honda absorbed everything a little bit better, less feedback with the back end coming up on me, but I try to keep my body position the same, just try to mimic it, time after time. And for me, just that Honda, the way it was balanced, like I said, my weight, my ability, however I was riding it, but it just really stayed to stay more neutral for me, less feedback coming through those bumps. I mean, obviously before Todd would touch it for me or do something, but as a stock setup, I was pleasantly surprised to see the little bit of difference between all of them. But even the gas for me, I mean, the air was, probably a little light, but it tracked it, I thought, pretty well too, to be honest. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised with the Cowie. I didn't realize the difference in, like I said, I'm not a suspension guy. I go to Todd for that, but just the feedback and the valving and spring rate, whatever, the way that chassis set up, but I kind of thought it would handle it a little bit better than it did.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So on Saturday, the Honda just overall just worked really well for me. And the same thing when we were riding around on the trails, the Honda was a little bit dancy and a little kind of too stiff. And then the very first time I rode it around the track in the earlier part, when it wasn't as kind of rough, there weren't the holes, but there was the kickers. The Honda was a little bit, I don't know about this. It's like I was just too stiff everywhere. But then as the track kind of developed in and got those bumps, it started working magically. And I was like, this is the 450R I remembered from a couple of years ago when I was the only journalist to say this thing's really good. Everybody else is like complaining because the forks were too soft. So
yeah. That seemed to be the common theme. Just hearing you guys talk and with myself as well, is like the Honda seemed to be like the stiffest most balance of all the bikes, at least for Saturday. It's like some of the bikes had like soft front end and soft rear end, whereas the Honda was more balanced front to rear, but also the stiffest, which because a lot of guys were thinking everything's too soft.
Yeah,
what did you think compared Saturday to Sunday? I mean, I know personally, I've ridden tons of bikes, thought I had them just right, and then I go race them and I learn a whole bunch more. And so, just curious of what you guys thought once you wound up on a bike that you felt like was right or wrong, and then in the race conditions where you're having to charge through some of those square edge holes and some of the stuff you might just kind of maybe not put 100% into just because it's not that much fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that like this track sections of track that we used were the same. Both days they were kind of the same after the first race. There wasn't like the track was that much different. But what really just the little tiny changes I made, and most of the changes, like I said, except for the gas fork, which I kind of did just because I know with that fork, I've always liked, 3 to 5 pounds more than whatever they recommend because I'm a little bit heavier and that's just been kind of a standard thing all the way. So I said, yeah, I think that's the right direction. And I wanted to at least make some kind of a suspension change on a bike to see whatever difference it made. But the biggest difference was in the engine characters. And because I kind of used the engine a little bit because I know what this, I know what the suspension is going to do. I can kind of use it to kind of get me through the bumps and stuff. So I don't think much changed in how I was riding, or I kind of go the same speed no matter what. I don't like push it because I'm racing. I kind of try to push it a little bit when I'm testing the bikes because that's when you feel things. But I don't think much changed except on Sunday. The Yamaha for me, because I fixed the motor, the suspension got way better. And the chassis felt more nimble. It didn't feel as even though it's light, it just got lighter without being twitchy. The Honda did everything well. It just wasn't as comfortable as some of the other bikes.
Yeah.
And that was probably the only bad thing I can say about it. The Kawasaki was the bike that didn't care. And it like I said, I hyped up the motor a little bit, that curve. It just, everything on it worked great. It didn't do anything bad, and it didn't do anything, like stellar, except for it was like really stable and really planted.
Yes. And
that was it. And then the gas was kind of the same thing, where it didn't do anything bad and it didn't do anything great. It was just kind of, and so I raced all these bikes, and I didn't feel like I was going any faster on one of them as opposed to another. And I don't think anything changed. We had some high speed straightaways where I hit the rev limiter on the Honda, the Kawasaki, and the gas. The Yamaha was the only one that I still had more. There was more speed to come, but it was, it has a little wide ratio there, which kind of helped. It was an advantage in certain spots. And then the one time I dropped it into first gear on accident, and I almost went over got thrown over the handlebars. I'm like, whoa, that's a low first gear where you can, you're actually going down to, don't mean to, but I did on purpose go to first gear. And the other bikes, it's kind of usable on the track. But yeah, suspension wise, I don't think anything really changed. And it blew me away by, like I said, how good they all are for just being stock and not having to change it. But then how much they're interconnected with the chassis, and the engine can kind of affect all that stuff. And I would hope that most riders would actually take the time to play with the clickers and stuff more, because any little kind of thing like the Honda's the only one I struggle with, because I know what the clickers do from riding them so much. I don't know if I could get the comfort without causing some other issues on that. I think they're kind of at the limit of the comfort, where the Yamaha, I definitely know I could click it around and get better, but I just didn't want to start chasing it because it was good. Gas, same thing. The air in the forks, didn't want to chase anything. And the Kawasaki, frankly, it was like, I probably could have gone a little bit stiffer on all the clicks, and it might have made me happier, held it up just a little bit more. But that's what I felt the next day. So, Todd, how do they compare to your new KTM?
Well, I had a first on Sunday that I've never had in my life. It was somebody passed me on 3 different motorcycles in the span of a half an hour during a race, which I've never experienced before. So that was really good. I'm glad. First times are always good. Sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're good. So this one was bad, but it's all life experiences. So
hey, don't worry, we got video. You sawing me off in a couple turns. Trevor saw it.
You did.
It was
a good time. I wish I would have had the energy to ride them on Sunday, because I really think that Sunday is their intended purpose. Really, I mean, they're supposed to be off-road race bikes, and obviously I was racing my own bike and I did 2 classes and all that stuff, and by the end of it, like I was done. I couldn't ride it anymore. But the fact that being able to ride them on Sunday, I think, would have really been the acid test. The track was short. It was the first hot day of the year, and if you've ever been to an SRA, they set up really rough, a lot of square edge bumps, and it's really aggressive as far as suspension and handling. And if your bike works at an SRA race during the summer, you can pretty much go anywhere. So that's always what I use as the test bed. And it was good that you guys got to ride them on Sunday, I think, to really kind of see what they're really about.
Yeah, it was.
I think that's really good.
It was awesome. SRA. I mean, I haven't been to an SRA, and we're trying to think of it. It might have been 10, 12 years. I haven't raced one. And
they're so fun. They're just
super fun. I still, like, people say I want to get into racing or something. I just go to an SRA. Yeah. Just a fun course. Super laid back, attitude. I mean, you got some fast guys, you got some really slow guys, you got guys riding vintage bike. There's a guy that was riding around and his pants were falling off and he gave me a butt crack like twice because
Side note, do you remember I was behind you? You're riding a Kawasaki, I think, and you almost killed a little kid.
Oh, you mean the kid that was trying to ride his mini bike across the course? And I yelled at him. I pulled up next. Yeah, I yelled at him, and then
when that happened,
and then I went to the next turn and tried to clean out our video guy. Yeah. You don't want to mess with me on a track. I get kind of mean. I'm happy when I'm done with it, but that's why I don't like to race.
So shoot. Well, you didn't run into me, so that's good. You passed me 3 times on 3 different bikes that didn't actually make contact.
I wasn't really racing. I was just trying to feel. I needed to put the bike in a race-like environment.
That was good. It was a good thing.
So, Trevor, what'd you think?
Oh man,
dude, you should have seen the whole shot he pulled in the 450 Pro class, which he won, by the way.
I won. Yeah,
and Trevor won the 450 Pro class, but unlike me. Unlike me, like I took off with all these guys and I was switching the bikes. I stayed in 3rd place in my race.
I stayed in 1st place.
Yeah, but there was only one guy in your class.
I took him out in the first turn. Got rid of that real quick.
It's always a good plan.
Yeah, that worked out.
Competition as early as possible.
Yeah.
What did you ride, Trevor?
What was that?
Which bike did you ride?
Rode every one of them.
I switched at the end of every lap. I'd switch bikes.
Oh, even in the pro race, you did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there was nobody else left in his class.
Start on.
Yeah.
I started on the Kawasaki.
Massive hole shot.
Yeah. I missed the shift. It would have been bigger, but couldn't get the shift right.
Massive hole shot, and then slam the door in front of the pro pack, and all of those bikes flying and people cartwheeling, and Trevor just rode away like nothing happened.
I look back. Look like they're okay.
Back to the bikes.
For myself, especially for just how rough it got, because it's such a short lap time and how many people were there, quite frankly, it was a little dangerous, I felt, just with how soft the bikes are. And knowing, because I've been riding the Kawasaki and the Yamaha quite a bit, like set up with my suspension and stuff, knowing what those bikes can handle, and then going back to stock is a little, just they're all much too soft for kind of what I'm used to and what I want.
Yeah.
And so I kind of really had to check up and just couldn't ride as aggressive and as fast as I would have liked to. But none of them were dangerous. It's just I couldn't ride to what I'm used to riding.
Yeah. That's why you're going so slow around the turns.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the bumps.
I got to go back to my personal bike, which was, I think I'm the only one that did that. So
what did you like? Stock bikes.
just basically what Trevor just said is my personal bike is much firmer.
Yeah.
And I just felt safer making a mistake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where I could just overjump something or maybe, charge into something and miss a little bit and not worry about bottoming out and having to deal with that. And it's typical of the XC bikes for me over the years. It's the motocross bikes tend to be too stiff and the XC bikes tend to be too soft, and I tend to end up somewhere in the middle, and that's exactly what I felt when I jumped back on my bike.
Yeah, and Todd does all my suspension, so he kind of knows what I like in comparison to what these stock bikes are set up as. But yeah, I tend to run much stiffer than these stock off. More, say, probably closer to a motocross setting than a true off-road setting, I would think.
And I really think that, they're trying to set up bikes that are going to work in the woods with roots and cheddar bumps and rocks. Like, that there was that one section going back in the gully and stuff that was just kind of all, I don't know how, I think it kind of polished itself off. It wasn't all kind of just loose rocks, but in our morning races, Todd, you remember this, it was all, those rocks were all kind of loose and stuff. And that's where those bikes work really, really good. If, for me, because I'm used to it being like softer and going through, it's like, you don't feel the rocks that much. And
yeah, I think you passed me there as well.
Because I was on a nice mushy bike, and it went.
Remember all the places that this happened, but I think that was one of them. But yeah for sure.
But yeah, it's super. Like I said, good. Good data test, and like I said, I can't say enough about like the SRA Grand Prix. I don't like racing, but I had a lot of fun riding around. I'm going to get some of my buddies to come back out, and that was super good. And it's amazing. Just that you can take that. Like I can take a stock bike and go ride at that level. Gordon Ward used me to wipe his butt with and just ran away, but that's just to be expected these days. Yeah. But such really capable machines. And if I had one bike and I had it, I would, like I said, I'd go ride it. I'd do these little changes, figure it out. And then it's like, now each one of them, I have like one more level of setting that I would like to do. And I'm not even sure that it's going stiffer on the suspension. Even though you race guys all want to do this, but I wouldn't know until I tried it. Mm-hmm. And that's a point where I'd like to kind of spring one up a little bit, but I'm hoping to lose weight and get back down. I really, that's why I don't get bigger pants either. I just push on the button because I'm really hoping to go. I don't want to give up and go the other direction.
Just as a suspension guy, I want to say something here. We don't accept desired weights. Okay, so look, I get this call all the time. Look, I weigh 250. But over the summer, I'm going to get down to like 185. So, I don't think I need springs. And this happens all the time, Jimmy. So just buy the springs and be done with it. You're fat, and that's it. And that's all. So.
Yeah, well, I have made some pretty valiant efforts. I'm getting back there. The problem is like so many pairs of pants to buy. It's like I'm not caring about.
Yeah. No, I have like 3 sets of pants myself.
But so, anyways, if you're watching this live and you have questions about what we're talking about now, of course you can put it in the chat and we'll come back to it and get to it. But if you have your questions and want to know a little bit more about these bikes in the second hour of the show, we're going to dive in that. I will be around to answer your questions. I'm sure Trevor will as well. If it's not past his bedtime, it's at like 8:00.
It's cutting it close.
Right. Yeah. So any other things that you guys just like kind of off the top of your head, if there's something that you'd say, hey, I rode all these bikes and I want to tell you this. And so, Brett, I'm going to go with you first.
I think the biggest takeaway for me was actually how close each one of these bikes is to being, just kind of race ready right out of the box. And how, Jimmy, I've been riding this type of stuff, with you back in, I don't know, the various different
90s. Yeah.
Yeah. In the 90s, early 90s, maybe even late 80s. But I don't think I ever did a test across multiple bikes where I came away thinking that every one of those bikes, while still an individual and unique and has its puts and takes, there wasn't a bike that we rode that I couldn't absolutely fall in love with just by making, just my normal, adjustments. And for me, a lot of that is just kind of the adjusting to fit my physical size. Putting the low pegs on, tall seat, bars in the forward position, little taller bars. I mean, I think every one of those bikes, I could do that, have Todd do the suspension, and I'd be race ready. And I don't think I can ever really remember a time where I didn't kind of come out of it thinking, hey, 3 out of those 5 bikes are great. 2, maybe not. But this one was really one of those groups where there's really there's a bike for everybody, and every bike is for everybody, if that makes sense. Like, you could absolutely take any of these bikes and make it perfect for you. There's not a loser in the bunch. I was really impressed. There's a couple that I just had ridden some previous generations of those bikes and thought, I don't know if that's something I'm going to really love, but I didn't feel like that. Not at all.
Jeff?
I was the last thing I was surprised. I really liked the bike that felt the heaviest, which I've never been that guy thinking that I really wanted a heavier feeling bike, but I really felt comfortable on the Kawasaki, and it's the one that, even though on the scales it may not be the heaviest, to me it felt like it had more weight, but I still liked it.
Mm.
Interesting.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, I agree with Brian 100%. I came in it kind of, thinking one way, but for me, I haven't spent a lot of time on the Austrian brands, so I was pretty excited to get on the gas cast. I personally had never rode one, besides a KTM here and there, but I agree. I think there wasn't a loser in the bunch. I kind of went back to ergonomics of it and just, my height, my weight. For me, the Cowie was like, I jumped on it and I felt like I was at home. Like, a couple minor little tweaks, but for me, that was a bike that I couldn't believe how comfortable the bike was. And getting back to the weight towards it a little bit, I mean, it felt just so planted in the back, that bike, and the motor and everything on it. But at the end of the day, I agree with Brent. I mean, there's no lose in the bunch. I think you go to the dealer and there's a certain color you like, or you sit on them and it feels a certain way, you're stoked. I mean, it's a great decision on any of those bikes.
Yeah. And Todd?
Yeah, I hate to be a homer and just cop out and agree with everybody, but all the bikes are really good. And it's sad to say, I come from an era, and I'm old enough to remember when all the bikes weren't very good necessarily, and there was one really standout bike that, and back in the 80s, it was the Hondas and this and that, but you could literally, and I've never had an opportunity to ride all of the bikes on one day like this, and it was pretty shocking to me to think that all of them I'd be excited to own. Just to figure it out and kind of work on their quirkiness and deal with any of the issues that they have. And I think all of them could be a very good race bike given a little bit of time and not a lot of money, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
To compete in the expert class in any age group or even in the pro class, you'd be surprised of how little money you'd have to spend. And we've kind of proven that with Trevor and the best of the desert bikes and stuff like that, where you don't really need to do as much as you think you do. These bikes are very good. If you target your modifications based on certain needs, you won't have to spend a bunch of money to have a very competitive motorcycle.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in and let Trevor finish this section off. But it's so for me, and every one of these bikes that get the Jimmy customized mods. I put flex handlebars on all my bikes. Fasst Company sponsor the show, but it's just, that's something I need for my wrists to be able to ride as much as I do. And it's a comfort thing. And so anytime I started talking about comfort, like the Honda, I know how to make it go away. I don't think any of these bikes I don't think any of these bikes need a steering stabilizer, but I don't think it would hurt any of them. That's something I do on almost all of my bikes. Some of the quirkiness with whether it was the hydraulic clutch or the cable clutch, some of the stuff I felt, there's ways to fix that. I'm not afraid to throw a recluse clutch in my bike, and that's because I'm not a very good rider and I'm old. Everybody knows this, right?
Agreed.
And then I have my tire picks, but you're wearing tires out. You can change that stuff. There's so many little things you can do, but those are the things I would do, and I could do them to any of the bikes, and they would at the end of the day, at the end of my adding it's probably about $2,000 worth of Jimmy mods onto it. They'd all be the same bike, just be a different color and have a different brand name on it. But you would ride it, and I would turn them into the same. It'd have really smooth power, really long pulling power, and and from doing this for a long time too, as well. Doing these kind of comparisons, there was always like a turd, and there was always something that really stood out as a winner. And this group, not the case. Not the case at all.
No, I think almost everyone had a different winner and a different last place and different second. Like all four of you guys at the end of the day were like all mixed match. Like there's definitely not one clear winner or last place bike.
Yeah, and that's why I hate calling these a comparison or a shootout. Not that it's politically incorrect to say that kind of stuff anymore. It was a damn shootout. We took the bikes out and we shot shit out of them. Yeah. And they, in reality, our job isn't to pick a winner. I mean, because who cares what Jimmy likes? It really doesn't matter. It's like, let's do our best to kind of describe them. It's like let's say that, hey, this one has smooth power. This one's a little, snappy. This one felt light. This one felt heavy. The things that people want to, and I know everybody wants to know which one went the fastest. Like, we didn't take it out to the dry lake bed, and I didn't pull my phone out while I'm going 106 miles an hour and video it or whatever. But it's the idea here is to kind of give people a feel for the bike. So if you have questions about, does this bike feel like this or feel like that, like collectively we can answer that. And that's the goal in our videos. Each one of us shot an individual video where we talk about what we liked and didn't like, and this after the first day. And I did that, and the next day my order kind of like it wasn't that far off. It just kind of went the other direction. So it would have been awesome to have all you guys out riding them, but I took over.
You did a fine job.
Maybe next time. So hey, thanks for joining in. And hopefully we'll have you guys back out pretty soon. And feel free to chime in tomorrow or next Tuesday or some other Tuesday when we make this thing go live, and we'll go from there. So
absolutely, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for having us out. That was a fun day.
Awesome.
Yep. Lots of fun.
So everybody, like I say, for everybody watching this, this is our first hour of the episode. The second hour, we're going to be doing it live. We'll take your questions. We will answer all kinds of questions, maybe do a roosterendo. I don't know. We probably will have less technical difficulties, but that's the way it works. So with that, everybody, we are going to see you after this commercial break.
What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you'll know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it, to look for weaknesses and to improve it, or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden, and raced, and knows meets the high Taco Touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
I think we should have sound. Don't worry. I might not be a professional, but we can see if I come back. Look at that. Oh, electric, you call it, Dave. Sometimes it's good to just feel the power. Not hear the power. There's no power here. So let me reiterate what I just said. I'm the worst podcast host known to man. I was going to say thought I could do this all by myself, but obviously that isn't the case. Running solo here from Pahrump, Nevada. Had a crazy weekend, really whole week. I did a lot of bike testing. I actually did some racing incidents. rode all the 450s, raced all the 450s, and had a really good time. Had a great group of guys. So this was our we're doing a 450 off-road comparison. Basically, it's the Honda CR 450 RX, KX 450X, Gas 450 EX, and then also the Yamaha YZ 450 FX. And by the way, the show is brought to you by none other than Yamaha. So, of course, you should expect that we are going to pick the Yamaha to win because we're just shills for our sponsors. But that doesn't get us, get in the way of us telling you how these bikes actually work. No. If you watch the first hour of the show, what you'll notice is that all 4 of the guys that rode the bike, actually 5 including Trevor, but Trevor was out of the age category that we were using. We actually wanted to have test riders that talked, that didn't just stare at a phone or try to text us the answers. So we got real live humans that know how to talk and ride motorcycles, and kind of went over some of the stuff about the bike. So Mark Daniels is very happy that he's wearing his new Tech Talk Taco Tuesday t-shirt. Thank you, Jimmy and Ricky number 2. I think Ricky is down at the Sonora Rally right now in a very good position for the upcoming 2 days. They're battling it out down there in Mexico. And I'm stoked that Ricky's back racing and having a good time. So the purpose of this show is just to show we kind of tried to bring the shootout to the show, the bike comparison, so that if you're interested in these bikes or any bikes, as a matter of fact, let us know. And we can try to, help you. And when we do these comparisons, our goal is not to pick a winner. Our goal is to describe the bikes to you. And so if you're interested in buying these bikes, if you want to take that hour and listen to it, I think you get a really good feel for how the bikes sort of work. And if you need it broken down or done in a sentence or two, or with me, it's 20 sentences, I can help you with that right now. I'm trying to get Trevor to call in, but I think it's past his bedtime. And Matt just texted me back and he says, it does it automatically. Good job, Matt. You've just made your job less valuable. He texted me all the answers. He actually wrote me an instruction sheet. This is a sign of a good little helper. He told me everything he does. And now maybe I can let him, I can kick him out like all the other kids used to come around here. Oh, and there's Trevor Hunter. What do you know? See, you talk about them and they call in. Welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, Trevor. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
I thought you were going to say tired because it's past your bedtime.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. So Troy Hicks has a question for us. I didn't even read it yet, but I'm going to read it live. Now, here's my question. If 4 pro-level riders can go ride these bikes, be happy with them, and say very little money needs to be spent on being competitive, why do 57-year-old trail riders on a 500 need to spend thousands of dollars just to make the bike tolerable? Well, that's a really good question because I only knew of one pro-level rider on those bikes, Trevor. Mm. And the rest of us were guys with thousands of dollars in our pockets. I'm not 57. Gordon Ward was 57. And that guy was riding a completely stock 23 YZ 450 F. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he basically used, like I like to say, Gordon's legend. He pretty much, I used to beat him all the time, but he pretty much wiped his ass with me. But I was in his head. So, Troy, that's actually a really good question. And honestly, there's 3 things, and you'd probably agree with me on this, Trevor, a little bit, is that yeah, these guys at this age have money, and you want to customize or personalize your bike, and that's good. That's why there's the aftermarket. That's why we have certain sponsors. They can help you make your bike what you want. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel that a lot of riders don't give the stock bikes a chance because maybe they get onto YouTube and they find every other show but ours. and they tell them they need to modify them. Oh, you have to put this on. You have to put that on. And they never really, and there's nothing wrong with putting this and that on it, but do it for a reason.
Yeah.
And our riders, I guess, were, I would say, higher level than normal. I mean, I don't think any of our guys were novices for sure, but
no.
But they were good, articulate test riders. That, I mean, even though they weren't really test riders, they've all tuned and worked on their bikes, and they know what they like. And that's why I like these guys, because they knew what they liked. They weren't afraid to try something. And then, as you heard in the thing, they were pretty surprised by what the standard bikes would do without even messing with them, just being set up properly, to start with. And I was kind of blown away that we didn't have somebody that said, "Oh, that bike," we always have somebody say, "Oh, that bike sucks," or, "This one's junk," or "This one's so much better than all the others." And it wasn't that way at all.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because at the end of last year, or whatever, when I first picked up that Honda, that 450 RX, the second day we went out riding, Brent was there, and we had that and the 450X and his personal bikes and all these different bikes, and so we were all kind of jumping back and forth. And Brent, in particular, really couldn't get off that Honda fast enough. It was not gelling with him, with any of us really that day. It was just didn't really suit anyone's kind of needs or wants in a bike. And then flash forward to this last weekend, and I think it was his first or second pick.
Yeah, on the first day, after we did the trail riding and then the motocross, it was my favorite. Yep. It was just this little bit above everything else. And so there's something to that. But when, remember when you brought the X and the RX out here and we went riding, and the way I am, I spend more time on the bikes I don't like.
Yep.
Because I want to try to figure out what I can do to make it better. I was complaining about that bike quite a bit too. And that was more of a kind of trail riding scenario.
Yep.
And it was a pretty good, ride. And then at the end, I had a list of things that I wanted to change, and then roll forward to Glen Hill. We didn't change anything. We just kind of left it.
Yep.
And then it was the best bike again. So they're all really, really good. And I know people get sick and tired of hearing that, but the problem is these manufacturers, it's a good problem for you. They listen to, people that know what they're talking about, and they make them better. So if one bike has a characteristic that stands out, they chase it a little bit and they try to make theirs a little bit more like that one, without losing some of the characteristics that make a Honda or a Kawasaki. And all these bikes have a quote characteristic for sure.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. Bike Mojo says, me and my 6-year-old son just started riding a few months ago, and he outgrew his KLX 140L. He just moved to a 2018 2018 XCW 150. We rode Colorado single track, steep, rocky terrain. Any tips for transitioning to a 2-stroke?
Is this for me?
You went the other way. You went from 2-stroke to 4-stroke. I've
gone back to 2 strokes from 4 strokes.
I've switched so many times I don't even know what I am anymore. So that's off the subject, but there's no problem with derailing this show. I think that the problem is you've gone from something that goes chug, chug, chug to something that needs to go ring and rev. And
did he say what 2-stroke in particular?
KTM XCW 150.
Like TPI or
2018 is still carbureted, so probably not as smooth as TPI. Yeah. And his 140L went, chug, 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 and that's a big step, really. And I think the biggest thing you can do is just teach the kid to trust the torque, learn where the torque is on the motorcycle. Like have him go out in a flat field and learn how to let the clutch out. I want to say as soon as possible, but by as soon as possible, I mean, get the clutch out at the lowest RPM possible and learn how to modulate the throttle and not touch the clutch. So trust the torque of the motorcycle, even on a 150, and figure out where it stalls and where it doesn't. So he isn't just hammering the clutch and causing a lot of problems because of that. And then, I mean, really a riding school would help this kid more than anything. A good quality riding school that focuses on balance and traction. I know a guy who does one of those. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I run a riding school. But it's and it really depends on, how big your 16-year-old son is, like what his weight is and how tall he is to some other stuff. But, in grand scheme of things, that's a tough transition to make. Because most kids come from the 85 two-strokes and go up to a one. Most of them go to a 250 four-stroke and then they're ruined because all of a sudden they have torque and power for a long time.
Yep.
So Tim Skelly mentioned dual sport bikes are all choked up, so there's a couple grand needed to make it rideable. Ooh, I'm going to argue with you on this, Tim. ECU tires and a muffler is $1,500. Yes. So the dual sport bikes you need tires, most of them. So I don't think you need tires. You need the riders of the dual sport bikes need to do the exact same damn thing. Ride your bike the way it is and figure out what you want. And if you want really super snappy power, like ride off of idle, do an ECU and all this other stuff like that. But if you learn how to ride them, like a lot of times it's just, I would go tires and start worrying about some other stuff before I start jumping into motor mods. Some of the bikes, you can easily kind of uncork them a little bit without having to go deep into detail. But just like these bikes, on the second day, I changed ECU settings on the Yamaha. It went from my least favorite to my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I changed the ECU setting with a clip, a different power clip, they call it. What do they call those things on the Kawasaki? Coupler. I changed the coupler on the Kawasaki. I took it from the mellow setting to the most aggressive setting to make it smoother. And that bike both bikes, it didn't make them just like aggressive. It made the suspension work better because now my wrist was more connected to what the bike was doing, and I just felt more comfortable and made less mistakes. And so, it's funny how that little stuff can make a big difference, but do small steps, don't dive straight in and do all this crazy stuff. And maybe I'm sure for most, actually even me probably, I think going up a spring rate, especially on the forks, like you guys all started talking about. But here's the thing. I come from riding like enduro bikes, the EXCs and the stuff like that, the XCWs and play around. I ride mini bikes. I play around in mini bikes. I'm riding softer suspended bikes. So the forks felt stiff to me, and I was sitting in the middle, or I wasn't sitting as far forward as I should have been on the bikes on the first day. And so the forks felt harsh and the bikes wouldn't turn properly. And then I taught myself, or, just kind of started sitting farther forward. And the next day, everything was brilliant. So it can be your riding position, something that you change that can make your bike work a lot better if you learn it a little bit. So, Troy Hicks. So continuing, do you think that most riders would be fine on a stock bike is very capable for Joe Sixpack? I think we've answered that, right?
I think so.
I'm Joe Sixpack.
At the very least, spend 5-10 hours, engine hours on your bike, just riding it completely stock. Maybe do some handlebars or some grips if you're particular, but you know what you want with that. But as far as suspension wise and motor wise and all that stuff, these bikes are so good stock. There's no reason to not spend some time figuring out what you like about it and what you don't like about it, And then when you do go in and do suspension or whatever, you can have an idea of what you want done to make it better for you. Not just guessing in the wind and saying you want it better, because you don't know what's better or worse.
Yeah, for sure. And that's super sage advice. Get the bike, make the bike super comfortable for you. You know, like just, and you know this, I'm really picky about the diameter of my grips. They need to be small. I want my levers really close to the handlebars. And if that's not the case, I don't really feel comfortable, so I can't ride the bike properly. And there's the people like, well, is that really big? Yeah, for me, it's a really big deal. I want to, because this is how I'm hanging on to it. When I ride an adventure bike that has smaller stock pegs, and I do what I normally do, which is move my feet out to get leverage on the pegs, then it's like I start missing the foot peg, and it's like, because that's what I'm used to. But those are important things to me because I know how effective it is. So Mike McElroy says the EXCF 500 is 39 horsepower stock, and the ECU is locked, so it's a far cry from the Moto bikes. But can you get 56 horsepower with an ECU and exhaust? Yeah. Yes, Mike, you can probably get 65 horsepower with an ECU and exhaust. But I want to ask you, how much horsepower can your rear tire handle? And so if you take your KTM 500 EXCF right now in 39 horsepower and you take it and you grab the throttle and you turn it wide open in most gears, can you do this?
Yeah.
And let it rev. Don't back off when the wheel starts coming up. Let it rev. And then we can start talking about like, okay, I agree with you. But it's power, character, and the problem I have with a lot of the ECUs that are accessory ones, they're tuned to give you 56 horsepower, and they're going to give it to you like a kick in the ass. By the way, I'd like to deliver a message from one of our sponsors, Yamaha. Yamaha has an awesome power tuner app that I got super familiar with the new version of the power tuner app this weekend. Man, what a tool. It's like I tell people all the time, it's like getting 16 cams, 27 different pipes, 3 different throttle bodies, and like 5 air filters in your lap, in your palm of your hand, inside of your phone. And you can mix and match all those different things without ever getting your fingers greasy, just by touching some digits. Or you can email Jimmy or Trevor at Dirt Bike Test, and we can send you our Jimmy Smooth map for most of your bikes, I think. And you might like that. Yeah. So, Mike, kind of depends on what you're looking for. It's not, I don't know very many people. And I was going to, last night when Brett kind of came on and said, he felt that the Yamaha was the most powerful one, I was going to accuse him of not holding the throttle wide open all the way. Because the Yamaha is the most peppy one and the most aggressive one. And it feels, like I said, in certain ways, it feels like the most powerful one. That's why I kind of went on to the Honda feels like the most powerful one, because I was for sure wide open and for sure at peak RPM when I was deciding which one was the most powerful. And the Honda just seemed like it was, taking the loads the best and moving the fastest. And I mean, maybe a dyno, some of these guys actually do, put these bikes on a dyno where you can see this, but we don't ride dynos. And my butt is the best dirt dyno I know of. So Eduardo Rojas says, hi friends from Sonora Rally, a great event. Get Ricky to call in. Go find, he's probably in bed too. He's like Trevor, these racer kids. So anyhow, okay. Was there anything else after? Did you watch that first segment, Trevor, or did you take a nap?
I just got off from a mountain bike ride not too long ago and was eating dinner, so I haven't watched it yet.
Right. I'm drinking my dinner, and I was just kind of curious if there was anything that kind of came back to you, or after remembering what we were saying, if there was anything else you'd want to talk to about those bikes.
I will say, like, racing all those bikes, kind of in that last race of the day, and just going one lap on each bike and getting right back onto a new bike, you could feel right away, what's different about each bike. And I thought it was kind of crazy, was like the gas, Kawasaki, and Yamaha chassis all in a way kind of blended together a little bit, whereas the Honda was like a stark difference in kind of how much feel you had.
Was it? So you're saying it was stiffer, correct?
Yes, the Honda felt very much stiffer and just very connected to the ground in a sense, whereas all the other bikes, you didn't get quite as much feedback. And not to say that one was better or worse, it's just crazy how much different that Honda felt compared to the other three bikes.
Yeah, I think there's a certain sense where the Honda did stand out in a little bit different ways, and we have not, on that particular bike, we haven't really adjusted the torques of the head stays or the swing arm pivot like we did on the X. And so I know you can take, and so some of that for me is that it's I'll call it a sharpness. It's like when the bike hits a bump, you're gonna know in your wrists, kind of through the handlebars or in your feet or ankles that you've kind of, hit something kind of hard. But at the same time, like the way I like to say it is the Honda, when you're in a turn and it starts doing something, you think, I want to go here or there, and the Honda goes there.
Yes.
Where the other bikes, like, you have to work at it a little bit. And it's like almost a little bit, I would call it a more precise handling, which for some people is really good and other people is horrible.
Yeah.
And I like that, but we're at this balance between where I want a little bit more comfort, and knowing from testing stuff in the past that, adjusting some of the torques, and there's some engine mounts that you can do that are a little bit different. There's accessory ones where you can drill holes in them. We actually have stuff on our website that we, talk about some of these different things you can do. And I don't know that a lot of people would like just outright feel it. And I don't know that it necessarily makes the bike work better. And here's the thing, is these bikes have gotten so good. Somebody could say, hey, you need to do this to your bike, and it may change something, but does it actually work better? and it's really easy to make them work worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all the manufacturers are just making perfect motorcycles. They make the motorcycle for the most amount of people, and we put a relatively diverse group of guys on it. And you guys are you are gonna take it and grab some younger guys that text and look into their phones all the time.
Yep.
And they say, and a lot, and they're gonna do a test, and then we're gonna have a 4-minute video of them going, what? Huh? Yeah. But they'll look really cool. They have nice flowing hair and stuff. I'm picking on Tyler right now, by the way.
That sounds about accurate.
He'll have really good gear, wearing like size 28 pants, all tight, like the top racers.
Yeah.
He has no idea who the hell I am. I think I would have beat him this weekend like 3 times.
Oh. If only he was there.
Yeah. You should listen to the show. We had him call in once.
Time.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we're gonna get some younger guys on these bikes, and then do a kind of an overall wrap up of everything, and as well we will start modifying them. And we don't know whether we're gonna kind of give one to each different guy and say, hey, make this into your dream bike, sort of thing, or we're gonna kind of collectively say we want to fix this on this, or we want to address this, or can we make this thing better on this. But and I said at the end of that little segment in the first hour, I kind of talked about what I would do to all the bikes, no matter what. My handlebars, steering stabilizer, Scott's steering stabilizer, love those things. I would, and I was pretty happy with how the Dunlop tires worked at Glen Helen, and I'm kind of a critic of the Dunlops all the time, and it's not anything Dunlop's doing wrong. They make a really good tire for everybody else but me.
Yeah.
I do not turn at a Dunlop turn angle. And I've said this since a long time ago. I've always turned a little bit different angle. So, and I know that the Honda, I think I can fix with my tires. I really think that little bit of what the tires I like running, which generally are Kendas, actually always are Kendas. I can put some Kendas on there and that will give the little bit of comfort. And then I think that bike could just shine at that point. And I don't think that any of the bikes would hurt from me going to my usual tire setup as well. And then that comes down to comfort and what you're used to and how you work. And people, like I said, there's lots of things you can try. Tires are really easy and they make a huge, huge difference because it's the only thing connecting you to the ground.
Yeah, no, it's like the Honda, the 450 RX that you kind of, myself and Brent and the people that rode it the first day or two, we hated it. And the one thing we changed is I put a MX-33 front tire instead of an AT81, and it completely transformed the bike. And it sounds kind of crazy and stupid, but
that's going the direction. That's going the direction I wanted to go. That's going from that kind of a little more hard, stiff tire. You know, the AT81 has the flat prevention and lots of durability.
Yep.
To something that's a little less durable, a little more traction, a little softer. And I want to go one step more on that particular bike for sure. That would be of all the bikes, that's the first one I would say I want to do tires on. And yeah, I said Kenda because Kenda does help me out with my schools, and that's what I'm familiar with, and that's what I like. And especially for Western conditions, the Parker DTs front and rear are insane for me. But Michelin has some really good tires. Pirelli has some really good tires. They do that. I don't have a ton of experience with the Bridgestones, but my past experience is that those tend to be even a little bit more. So something as simple as that can just take a bike and really change it. And so I don't want to say that on Sunday the Honda was the least favorite, but yeah, it might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, which the biggest thing is it changed from one day to the next, just on slightly different track conditions and terrain and stuff.
Yeah.
And being able to change a few minor things with the Yamaha and the Kawasaki and gas.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the kids come up with besides a bunch of uhs. Troy Hicks wants to know, would you talk about suspension testing and how Joe's 6-pack might accomplish that?
I think the biggest thing, and you could probably agree, Jimmy, is finding someone that would be willing to work with you, I think is really big. So I know from just working with Todd at TCS, the last couple summers, really, we've kind of spent, every other week at Glen Helen, and we'll kind of start the very basics, go all the way to stock clickers, stock everything, set sag, and then kind of just make small improvements. We'll go to fork springs or shock spring, and then before we do any valving, kind of see if that helps, if that's what's holding us back, or if it truly is the valving that's holding us back. And we kind of just make small steps from there instead of doing just one big step, and you kind of can get lost in what actually helped and what didn't help.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so springs are huge. Making sure you're properly sprung is paramount. And we had a question earlier in the show when we were live. Somebody was asking, rear suspension spring rate and stuff is easy to figure out, but how do you do the front? And this is where, like you just said, if you have somebody to watch you, it's huge, because you may be a guy that rides over the back of the bike, or you may be like Brent, who's 6'7" or whatever.
Yeah.
And if he leans forward on the bike, it changes where where all the suspension's taking load. Big guys like a big pendulum. Some small guys don't move around much, and so in the old days when they kind of checked the balance of the bike when they changed the springs, a lot of times the guys that knew what they were doing, they would actually hold on the brake and then push on the foot peg. And the bike needed to be kind of balanced at that point. They wanted to kind of go up and down when the weight was being applied to the foot peg pretty evenly, at least for, setting the sag and knowing the settings. But I've always found that for every, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank here right now, but I think it was for every 2 rates you go up in the rear, you need to go up 1 in the front, I think is how, when you start, initially chasing it. So if you go up and, sometimes, you can kind of mix that around a little bit, but you should kind of go up evenly. But for sure, if you start having it, because a lot of guys ride over the back, and so they tend to, get a stiffer back spring. And so if you go up 2 rates, whatever two rates is in the back, you at least need to go up 1 in the front. And there's a lot of times the manuals have really good information on this, recommended for your weights and stuff. So they can kind of give you a spring rate recommendation. I know there's some companies that sell springs, Race Tech, for instance, that has a spring rate calculator on their website that can help you out. And they're pretty good. I mean, I've kind of just arbitrarily threw some stuff at them to see if it was, I came up with something and I wonder if that's that good. And I've typed it into some different things and they came up with what I had. So, so spring rate is huge. So you need to get that set right from the beginning. And then I would ride it and try to get your clickers as good as you can with the just stock clickers. And so if you feel better and you keep going and you almost max it out, and there's a point where they kind of stop working, but if you keep going a direction, at least that way you'll have some information to give your suspension guy, because not everybody can get a suspension guy to come out and watch them.
Yeah. Yep.
But when you talk about the guy watching you, he's looking for balance of the motorcycle. He's wanting to make sure that the wheels are moving the way they should and that the bike isn't getting thrown in awkward, pitching or rolling. But if you have the right springs, generally this kind of doesn't happen. But if you start chasing something like with clickers, whether it's adding compression or rebound or, however it is, when you finally say, okay, now I want to get this fixed. If you kind of keep track of what you're doing with your clickers, hey, I'm in like a lot of compression clicks on the front fork. Well, then we need stiffer compression valving on your front fork. Makes it a lot easier to start. And a lot of times when I would send suspension into my tuner, I always sent it in with the clicks the way they were. And he would go, hey, how come your rebound in the rear is like, 5 clicks in? Yeah. And I'm like, well, it has too many hours on it, and the oil started wearing out and I started clicking it in as the oil wore out. Or I would say, yeah, it was kind of kicking a little bit. I have a bike right now that he kind of threw a different setting in. And I'm talking about George at ESP, who's guys I've worked with for years. And he knows me, but this one bike, I rode it and I ended up going in like 7 or 8 clicks on the rear I think it was the rebound, but I know it because I made the bike work. And so next time when it goes in for service, he'll notice that and he'll go, oh, I need to bump up the rebound. And he'll get that back into the middle. So I think if Joe Sixpack doesn't know how to test suspension, get your bike balanced, number one. And then if you can't feel it or you're not sure you feel it, try big changes. Go with 5 clicks of compression on the front and ride it. And then take 10 clicks back out and ride it and go, I like this or that. Or you can feel, make some changes that you can feel, because most guys don't feel 1 or 2 clicks. And a lot of times, the setting, the clickers don't exactly, a lot of times your front end problem is caused by a rear end setting, or vice versa. The front end's doing something. And that's what I noticed with the gas, because we added air to the gas fork. Yep. Didn't change anything else. All of a sudden the rear end started working better, because instead of the bike being kind of pitched down and the rear end being a little light, it lifted the rear end up and made the rear end work. And pretty to a point where I was like, yeah, this bike, all the bikes got so much better on Sunday. Like just those little, for me, I know for you, they all got sketchy because you're going too fast, but it was pretty cool. So anyways, any other questions out in the chat right now? So we're Trying to help you out. No Trevor XT 230 questions.
No?
How long can you wheelie that bike for?
I can wheelie a bicycle, but I can't wheelie a motorcycle, so not very long.
Do you know why that is? Because I'm the opposite.
I've never really tried to learn or practice wheeling a motorcycle much.
Yep.
I just get so frustrated right away. I just kind of gave up. And I was kind of like that on my bicycle at first, but I just kept practicing, and then finally I've kind of found that balance point. I just have yet to probably really put time in on the motorcycle.
So you're saying that practice actually works?
In some cases.
You can't just just watch a 7-minute YouTube video and then be really good at doing whatever you just watched?
If you watch a Jimmy Lewis off-road YouTube video, then you might be perfect.
We make ours 5 minutes, so they're really not that valuable. Isn't that the ideal time? Hey, I'd like to say thanks to, again, all of our sponsors. Taco Moto. We are not doing the Rooster Endo segment because Matt's not here, so blame Matt. And I don't know if we're going to double or nothing for next time. The suspension can be a whole week long, and we'll never get all the answers. You're correct, Mark. We will not get it. We will not get all the answers. Bulletproof Designs. You know, on all of those bikes, they all could use some Bulletproof Designs protection.
Like front disc guards?
No. Just zip that, Trevor. How about radiator guards? How about rear disc protection?
I like the rear disc guards.
Yeah.
And the swing arm guards.
Oh, the ones that protect the chain guides, especially on the KTMs. Those are really nice.
Yep.
So Bulletproof Designs, of course, there is Scott Sports. I was wearing Scott goggles because I got roosted a lot. Had clear vision, which is awesome. So I ran with the amplified lenses. You may have heard of those before. I wore Climb gear. That's why I look so good in the photos. Did you put my photos on my Grindr account yet, Trevor?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm saving those.
So I'm still trying to get my OnlyFans set. I'm going to start a Tech Talk Taco Tuesday Twitter, by the way. I think I'm going to start that one up so that we can use that as a conduit also for another avenue to get some questions in. And the next thing that we next sponsor, Double Take Mirrors. Trevor needs those for his XT225.
250.
250.
Yes, for when I'm racing, I pass people.
Oh, tell everybody about what you're going to do with that bike.
My ambition and my goal is I want to do two things. I want to ride the Big Bear dual sport ride, that 200-mile trail ride.
Right.
And see if a relatively stock XT250 can make it, or do I need a $20,000 dual sport like the guy earlier said? And then I also want to race like a national hare and hound and see how far up I can finish.
Right.
This little small
dual sport bike. But I told you what you have to do. You have to ride it there.
Yep.
And then you have to put some soft bags on it, and you can go camping afterwards.
There we go.
Yeah. Or maybe you'll break the thing in half and you'll be camping out in the desert anyways. Who knows? I hope not. No, I don't think so. I think, you'd be surprised at how, when you get on a really slow bike, how fast you can go because you quit making mistakes because of the power and having, those kind of issues. And you have to be careful on it, so you ride careful.
Yeah. Well, I had the bike out a couple months ago at Glen Helen, and I had Robert Bear out there. He's a expert level 50 plus racer.
Yep.
And he was trying out our KX450, and I jumped on the XT, and we were the same speed on Glen Helen's main track.
No way.
Stock tires and all.
Oh boy.
Keeping the horn.
Good thing he doesn't listen to this show, because he'd probably be trying to get us banned right now for you saying that.
We got it all on video, so he's okay with it at this point.
Well, now that it's been on the show with like, I think we're 1.2 million viewers. Everybody in Australia right now is really bummed out on Robert Bear because they thought the KX450 was better than a Yamaha, a sponsor of the show, XT250.
Yep.
So awesome. Well, any parting thoughts? Any last thoughts on this this whole comparison? Oh, we got Brenda's here. We got a question. What do the preload adjusters on the fork on my new KTM do exactly? I think the springs would be pretty close to being right for me. I understand that it takes away or adds preload, but how does that exactly affect the handling of a bike? I'm terrible at suspension stuff. You want to answer it? I'll explain the technical part, and you explain how preload works. So do
they have preload adjusters
on the 6 days ones? Yeah, they have a preload adjuster. I like it in some ways that it's really easy to kind of just, it has 3 different positions, and you can they click, and you can click and add preload adjustment. So between the two of them, you have a lot of different options. You can actually, go 2 on one and 1 on the other, and really fine tune it if you're into that. But it's hard to run the fork bleeder, the external fork bleeders, because you can't have something because it basically spins and preload. It's a big knob. It's a big knob because you're pushing some pressure on that thing to push the fork down. But explain to her a little bit what fork preload does.
Kind of changes just where the fork rides at in the stroke a little bit. And it actually does make quite a big difference. Even 1 or 2 millimeters is pretty noticeable on the track or trail or whatever. It's actually really useful for fine tuning. And for most forks, you have to pull the forks apart to kind of change the preload. But if it has the external adjusters, that makes it really convenient and easy to try as well.
Yeah. So Brendan, I would play with it, and to start with, they probably come in. I think it says 0. It says 0 in the middle, and then it's -3 and then +3. And so I would go to -3, ride it, click it all the way to +3, and then ride it and just see if you notice what it does. And so it's essentially just it's just like your shock preload. It's controlling the ride height, kind of where the bike likes to sit. And, make sure your rear is sag set properly at 0 on the fork preload, so it makes the most amount of difference. And then play with it, try to see what it does, because some people like a front end that's higher, so the steering is maybe less precise and the bike acts a little bit more stable. Or some people like it where it's me. I like it when it's actually, and you saw this, and I'm kind of learning that I'm actually being lazy. I don't mind a kind of a soft, less preloaded front end sometimes, because that way I don't have to sit so forward on the bike to get the front end to turn. I can sit down in the middle, and then the front end still goes down a little bit. So it's a pretty cool feature. But I think once you settle on your position, you'll kind of leave it there all the time. On some bikes, I switch tanks between some bikes, and on the bikes that have the preload adjusters, when I go from my 3-gallon tank to my 5-gallon tank, I just crank it up. I give it, and there I go from -3 to +3. So a 6 millimeter change in it. And sometimes if I'm really being a whiny, complainy bitch, when the tank gets low, I'll click it back down to 0. So there you have it. And Mark, you can't run the fork bleeding system with the preload adjusters. This is correct. This is what I just complained about. So, okay. Well, I think we're gonna start wrapping up this show. I managed to push all the buttons and make the show work, and I only went mute for 30 seconds to a minute. That's pretty good, huh, Trevor?
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
You've come a long way.
Matt can go camping. I started this by myself without any technical assistance, and now I need 2 people in here to make this thing work. And so somehow it worked out, but I appreciate everybody joining in, adding to the chat, adding to the thing. If you're watching this on the computer somehow at a time far, far away from now, go ahead and subscribe, do all that stuff like that. If you put stuff in the questions. You guys really skipping my questions again. Asher Lido. I think you asked it during the pre-recorded version of the show, the beginning part. So if you ask it within the next 30 seconds, I promise you I'll answer it, because that's what we're here for. But we're not picking on you personally that I know of. If I had somebody else here, I'd blame them, but it's all me today. So Rocky Mountain ATV MC, click through our links. Amazon, when you're buying your new large massage chair, I think everybody's supposed to buy one of those tomorrow, and they're going to click through, and we get a small chunk of that. It helps, like I said earlier in the show, give Matt and Trevor the 2 nickels, and I get the rest of the 90 cents. It's all good. We got some big things coming for Dirt Bike Test on the horizon. I got some awesome guests that I want to get in here, or now we're starting to learn how to take this show a little bit more mobile as I learn how to push the buttons. And Asher, I'm waiting for that question. I can't scroll back on the chatty thing because I don't have that control right now, but holding the show just for you. It either stalls or rolls when setting up to a rock or a log. Okay. So that's kind of ambiguous. That's what I like to call, I'm not going to talk about that because it's politically incorrect. It. What is it? And we have to wait for the delay to come back in. It either stalls or rolls when setting up to a log or a rock. I wish I had the sound from like one of those shows that goes ding 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 ding. You know, when you're getting your time in the Jeopardy. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing. Tequila night, Mark, is Ragosa. I'm going to go get more of this. And by the way, next week's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday may come as a live show or from the finish line of the Nora Mexican 1000. I might go live, or we may just skip it depending on how my connections are and stuff. But you might get an interesting live show in place of all of this excellent information. So we're waiting to see what it is. It either stalls or rolls. You know, you can put up in the chat what you think it is. And I'm going to go. Guess? What was that?
I would say, let's take a guess at what you think it is.
That's what I was going to say. And the clutch doesn't fully disengage that whatever it is. So I'm going to go KTM 500 EXC. I'm just guessing. And he put an ECU and a Recluse in it. I'm thinking. I don't know. Who knows what he put. The clutch doesn't fully disengage. That doesn't really seem like a KTM thing unless he smoked the clutch. And then no matter what clutch you smoke, and a lot of times the plates get warped. That's why clutches don't fully disengage, because the plates are no longer perfectly round and smooth. They look like waves. And still with Trace Generations is Mark. Oh, Brenda's guessing it's a Husaberg. That's really mean. Hold on, Brenda. Thank you very much. I almost forgot to mention it on the show. Hey, Trevor sent me a video of me ripping the Husaberg 650 at Glen Helen.
I think that was the fastest bike you rode all day. Or the fastest you rode a bike all day.
It could be. I was just trying to show off. Most excessive horsepower. Dude, did you see the rear tire in that thing? It chunked off 3 knobs in a row. Just tore them out. And not the center ones, the ones on the side.
Well, it is a Swedish trench machine.
Swedish trench says so right on the thing.
Living up to its name.
Let's see. Taco Tour says, I'll take clutch springs for 500, Alec. My name's Jimmy, by the way. But yeah, clutch springs for 500. Is that 500 cc's or is that $500? That's what we need to know there. This is when the show starts really good. Open the YouTube chat on your phone. Do you know how many devices I have running right here? Your chat system doesn't work. No, my chat system works fine. I'm seeing them pop up at the delay that my Restream chat pops them up. but I have no way to modulate it up and down. And the screen in front of me right here is controlling all of the audio levels and things like this. I should give you a tour of the show. I'll do that on my next Instagram post when I start the show. So why don't you go over to Instagram instead of YouTube and then watch us and then tweet us on how it works. And Mark says he'll take those clutch plates and service them on a service plate or a glass plate. No, just buy new ones. Go to Rocky Mountain ATV MC, click on the dirt bike test, go through dirt bike test, go there, get some new ones, put them in there, and don't worry about it and quit slipping your clutch. Come take a Jimmy Lewis off-road riding school. I can't wait to find out what it is anymore because this show is about, where's the video of you riding the Husaberg at Glen Helen? I'll put it on the dirt bike test Instagrams. I say, okay, Taco Tours here. I say, don't stop the show, Jimmy. Just start getting shit-faced drunk and we will tell you when to stop. No, I don't like this. I enjoy tasting my tequila and I don't want to go overboard. I got to get up early and work tomorrow. Some of us have to have real jobs around here. Yeah, like I have to pet my cat. Okay, that's what I really have to do.
That's a big one.
So it's way past Trevor's bedtime. I'm going to let him go. Hey, Trevor, thanks a lot. Hey, thanks for doing a good job getting those great guys to come and ride our bikes. And you stay safe out there. Don't ride. They're 450s and they're really fast. I don't want them to be sketchy. Get them modified for your needs. So. Okay, Trevor, we'll talk to you soon, and then I'm going to hang up on the rest of the show as quickly as you.
All right. I'll see you guys next time.
Okay. So that was Trevor Hunter. He's like 9/10 of dirt bike test right now. And since Asher can't get me the what it is, he's going to have to put this on the next show. If we're live, I'll answer it right away, or at least close to live right away, close to whatever it is. So everybody, thanks for joining in. Hey, David, one of these days, I'm going to beat you to Kauai, by the way. I'm going to beat you to Kauai, and I'm going to rip those first laps, and then we can talk about it. So right on. Thanks for calling me Cupcakes, Mark Daniels. That has a special place in my heart. And with that, we'll see you out on the trail. Cheers.